Hello everyone, in this video we will see about Colima, which is an open source alternative for Docker desktop. But why do we need an alternative for Docker desktop? The reason is couple of years back, I believe starting Jan 2022, Docker had made the Docker desktop to be licensable except for individual use and for personal use and for use by students. It is chargeable for anyone who works on commercial projects. So the industry started looking towards alternatives, and there were some alternatives like Minikube, Podman, and Colima. But in this video, we will focus more on Colima and what are things that we can do with Colima. So Colima is the Docker desktop alternative for Mac. You cannot use this in Windows. Before we go further, I just wanted to give a brief about what a Docker desktop is, and then definitely I'm not going to talk anything about Docker because there is already hundreds of video out there which explains about Docker. So primarily Docker desktop does two things. One, it creates a virtual machine. Two, whatever Docker commands that you issue, it pass on that command to the Docker daemon that is running inside the virtual machine. Docker Desktop also provides an easy to use GUI where you can manage all your Docker containers that are running, and it is also packaged with the Docker engine, which you can see as a blue color box on the right side of the image. Colima can be installed both on Intel and Mac M1 processors. Colima creates a virtual machine in your Mac and you can customize the configuration of that virtual machine, and internally that is used to run the Docker daemon, and this is pretty much similar to the Docker desktop, so that any commands that is issued will be transitioned to this virtual machine. Perhaps it is done using Lima, which is the abbreviation for Linux machines, and it is an open source library to create lightweight Linux machines, which is very similar to Windows subsystem for Linux. First, let's install Docker using a brew. Okay, so let's verify the installation. Okay, so see, if you issue docker ps commands, instead of listing all the containers, it says cannot connect to the Docker daemon. It means that there is no Docker daemon that is running, for which we need Docker desktop or Colima, so that it can internally create a VM and it can run the Docker daemon in it. So which makes it like as if we are issuing the Docker commands to our MacBook. Okay. So now let's install Colima. Okay, so again, since it's a Mac M1 machine, I need to use brew install in this fashion. By the way, why the name Colima? So I said about Lima, right? Linux machines. So Colima stands for containers on Lima, which is containers on Linux machines. Okay, so now it's installed. Let's issue Colima command. See, Colima is installed, and it gives you how we need to use it, and then the list of available commands. Okay, it's time to start our Docker daemon and run a Docker image as a container. So first I'll start the Docker daemon by issuing the command Colima start. Okay, so if you see, it's starting Colima runtime Docker. So now if you see, Colima has started, and internally it has also provisioned a VM, and then a Docker daemon is started. It's time for us to run our hello world container. So let me issue docker run hello world. So I don't have any hello world images in my local machine, so it will pull the image from docker hub and it will run the image as a container. If you see, it is pulling the image, and then it has successfully initiated a container, and there is a message from the container, the hello world container, as hello from docker. This message shows that your installation appears to be working correctly. Okay. So now we have a docker daemon up and running, and then we are able to successfully issue docker commands to it. So you have a command in Colima to view the configuration of your VM. So just issue Colima list. It will list down all the VM instances and the CPU and memory allocated to it. So here, when we did Colima start, it created a virtual machine with 2 CPU and 2 gigs of RAM size. Okay. So interestingly, you can also run a Kubernetes or a mini Kubernetes cluster in your laptop using this Colima. So for that, you need to issue Colima Kubernetes start. So if you have reached this point of the video, it seems like you have seen the entire video. So please let us know from which country you are watching this video, and we will give you a special mention in our next video. So now we'll issue Colima Kubernetes start. So now Kubernetes cluster has started. One prerequisite to use Colima Kubernetes is you need to have a kubectl command line tool installed. Again, you can use Homebrew to install kubectl. So I have already installed kubectl. So let me issue kubectl command. If you see, it is installed. Now let's see the cluster info of this newly created Kubernetes cluster in Colima. If you see, the Kubernetes control plane, the core DNS and metric server, everything is running in localhost. So to stop the Kubernetes cluster, issue Colima Kubernetes stop. It will stop the cluster. Now if you issue the cluster info command, it says like the connection to the server was refused because Kubernetes is not up and running. Okay, seems pretty interesting, and I have been using Colima for more than a year now in my MacBook for the development purpose, and it seems really interesting when compared to Podman or even with Docker desktop. The only drawback is Colima doesn't ship with a GUI, but it's always fun to use a command line interface. Thanks for watching this video. If you find this video useful, please click the like button and don't forget to subscribe to our channel Maze Tech Geek. And to join our WhatsApp channel, please scan the QR code. Thank you.